everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium on Thursday, December 14th, 2023. Folks, this will probably be our last news and views of 2023. Our next news and views will probably be January 11th, 2024. So I want to take this opportunity for myself and for Daniel and everybody at the website to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, all good things in the coming new year. We do have a vid chat tomorrow. I'm going to start this one early again because once again they are predicting rain right in time for the weekend. You know, this is getting old. I think they consult my vid chat schedule when they plan these bursts of weather, but I'm going to start early tomorrow so that we can get through prior to any rain showing up and any possibility of severe weather. Now, they're not predicting any severe weather, but where I live, you never know. So keep your eyes peeled for any last-minute schedule changes. If I do have to change the schedule, most likely I will have a makeup vid chat some point during the Christmas holiday, but I don't know when that would be. But otherwise, we're going to start early tomorrow afternoon, Friday, December 15th. Now, let's get down to a couple of interesting stories here. You can add two more states to the list of states that are pushing back against the tyranny that they see, and it's a legitimate concern, the tyranny that they see coming from the banksters and from this so-called government. It's really amazing to see. New Hampshire and Missouri are the two states that are taking up legislation to curb the use of central bank digital currencies as payments to state agencies, and in Missouri's case, as money. So the first article that we're going to talk about is titled, New Hampshire Bill Would Take Small Step Against a Central Bank Digital Currency. I'm going to read a few of these paragraphs to you. Incidentally, both these articles come to us from one of our regular contributors, WG, so thank you, WG. Dateline Concord, New Hampshire, December 13th, which would be yesterday, quote, a bill filed in the New Hampshire House would take a small step toward limiting the impact of any potential future central bank digital currency, or CBDC. Representative James Summers and three co-sponsors filed the House Bill 1232. The legislation would prohibit any agency, department, or political subdivision of the state from accepting a payment using central bank digital currency. It would also prohibit them from participating in any test of central bank digital currency by any Federal Reserve branch. In the spirit, and listen carefully now to the argument that the author of this article makes for this whole movement. Quote, in the spirit of James Madison's blueprint in Federalist Number 46, the enactment of HB 1232 would create impediments to the implementation of a central bank digital currency in New Hampshire. Madison said, quote, a refusal to cooperate with officers of the Union, along with the embarrassments created by legislative devices, would oppose in any state difficulties not to be despised, unquote. Other states have also taken up steps to block the use of central bank digital currencies. Florida and Indiana both enacted laws that banned the use of central bank digital currency as money in the state. Skipping a couple more paragraphs, we've heard this song and dance on other issues before. In other words, state pushback against federal law is just simply pointless, and his argument here is, quote, in the ramp up to the 1996 vote on Proposition 215 in California, voters were repeatedly told that legislation of marijuana, even for medical purposes, was a fruitless effort, since under the Supremacy Clause, any such state law would be automatically overwritten by the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. At best, opponents told Californians the state would end up in a costly and losing court effort. But despite those warnings, Californians voted yes, setting in motion the massive state-level movement we see today, where a growing majority of states have legalized what the federal government prohibits. Ultimately, the federal government will likely have to back down, even just to save face, because it has become impossible to fully enforce its federal prohibition over this massive state and individual resistance. At the end of this article, we have the following. At the root of the move toward government digital currency is the war on cash. Ding, ding, ding. The elimination of cash creates the potential for the government to track and even control consumer spending. Imagine if there was no cash. It would be impossible to hide even the smallest transaction from the government's eyes. Something as simple as your morning trip to Starbucks wouldn't be a secret from government officials. As Bloomberg put it in an article published when China launched a digital yuan pilot program in 2020, a digital currency, quote, offers China's authorities a degree of control never possible with physical money, unquote. And folks, that's true, but I would aver and give the scenario that there's a countervailing scenario that is behind this move to put everybody on digital, and that is they will continue to control access to all digital platforms, not only in information but money, and that means they can operate their schemes, their fraud, behind that one-way mirror. And that's the other reason to avoid this. If you think the fraud is bad now, wait till they enact this, because then they will rob you blind. And folks, there's just no way I think this situation is going to work. Now, the other bill here, and I want you to listen carefully to this one, because this bill in Missouri is getting to the nub of the issue, although by raising the question, it really hasn't yet adequately answered it, all right? This is Dateline, Jefferson City, Missouri, December 12th, 2023, and I'm reading from the very beginning of this article. Quote, bills filed in the Missouri House and Senate would take steps to limit the impact of central bank digital currency, creating potentially significant roadblocks to its use in the state. Senator Andrew Koenig filed Senate Bill 826 on December 1st. The legislation would expressly exclude a central bank digital currency from the definition of money in Missouri. Senate Bill 826 defines central bank digital currency as, quote, a medium of exchange or digital monetary unit of account, ding, 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 issued by the United States Federal Reserve System, a Federal Reserve agency, a foreign government, a foreign central bank, or a foreign reserve system that is made directly available to a consumer by such entities, unquote. Under the Missouri Uniform Commercial Code, money means a medium of exchange currently authorized or adopted by a domestic or foreign government. The term includes a monetary unit of account established by an intergovernmental organization. In other words, folks, that organization could be a compact of states, or by agreement between two or more countries. SB 826 would add, quote, the term does not include a central bank digital currency to that definition. Now let me stop. I would add to that bill that it must incorporate a physical medium of exchange of some sort, or spell out examples of such physical media, such as banknotes, certificates of deposit, and so on. Certificates of deposit, I think, are the key here, folks, because in this race to establish central bank digital currency, Missouri is focusing, in my opinion, on the correct problem, on the question. What really is money? Okay? And Missouri is getting close to it. Units of account with an agreed upon value and so on, a medium of exchange and so on. I think the question is extremely important, particularly as we start contemplating movement into space and the economization and financialization of outer space. Because if trade does occur, and more importantly, if there's to be any trade with, so to speak, anyone else out there, it is likely going to have to be conducted in terms of some commodity. So, in other words, money and what constitutes money in the old-fashioned sense of a medium of exchange is becoming more important. Now, there's problems in the history of law, big problems. And there are other problems in human history, not the least of which is that we're entering a new situation with the idea of space trade that humanity has never faced before. And that's going, in my opinion, please listen carefully, that's going to place what constitutes money under a very, very close microscope. And we're going to have to, I think, rethink a lot of our legal precedent. Please hear my words now. We're going to have to rethink a lot of our legal precedent. This, I think, is what the banksters know, and this is why I think they're in such a mad rush to impose central bank digital currency. Because once the philosophical scrutiny of what constitutes money, and more importantly, within our legal tradition, that, I think, is going to raise the issue of whether or not we have even been using money for a very long time. So, some important issues here, folks, to watch in the upcoming year. My other caution to these states is, what's the enforcement mechanism? In other words, are they going to stand up for their citizens if the federal government comes in and tries to arrest them for either raising or smoking marijuana? Those laws are still on the books. So are the states prepared to enforce their law in the teeth of federal opposition? And if that test case does not work, are they willing to stand up and enforce their laws about money and central bank digital currency? In other words, they can pass all the laws they want to, but in doing so, they'd better damn well make sure that they have their own mechanism and media of exchange in case people are forced by the federal government into using a central bank digital currency and they don't want to. So in other words, show us the practicality that you're able and willing to enforce the laws that you're passing. Otherwise, it's academic. I do think that by merely raising these laws, merely attempting to pass them, they are definitely showing signs of pushback. But that pushback needs to show us some other signs as well. Otherwise, it's all academic. Anyway, things to watch for in the coming year, which I suspect is going to be one like we've never seen before. God have mercy. But in the meantime, folks, for Daniel and I and everybody here at the website, I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, every good thing in the new year. And thanks to all of you who've helped make this website, Daniel, and all of you contributing articles from me personally that's helped make this website what it is over the years. So thank you, everybody, and thank you again for all of your contributions of articles and comments and suggestions and so on. So we'll see you tomorrow for the last vid chat of 2024. We're going to be starting early, so get your questions, comments in by no later than 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. God bless, and we'll see you on the flip side.